Hi there, my name is Martin Stone from Switch On Health, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Lisa Westerlaken, who is our latest graduate in homeopathy. So, Lisa, congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
So, Lisa, remind me, where are you based in the country?
I'm actually in Sydney, in the eastern suburbs.
Okay, fantastic. And I know, you were already a practitioner in a different modality before coming to us.
Mm.
So tell us a little bit about your story. How come you ended up studying homeopathy with Switch On Health?
As you've mentioned, I've got a thriving practice in with kinesiology, and I've been practicing that for I think it's about 11, 12 years now. And I had a real calling to do some more study. And so I sort of researched and looked at a few different modalities, and then homeopathy just seemed to ring true to me. It just felt right. And for me, it sort of gives a bit of a gap into what I'm already doing. So for me, it was something that could possibly help working where clients weren't necessarily getting a great shift, that I felt that homeopathy could, just bridge a bit of a gap again to just get clients results, which is, what I'm really driven about.
Yeah, fantastic. So definitely going to be, combining the homeopathy with the kinesiology in your own way.
Absolutely. I mean, I think as a standalone modality, it's beautiful. It just is such an amazing modality on its own. And so, yes, at the moment I'm sort of, testing as to how I do incorporate them. Yet, I can see them absolutely marrying together and supporting each other, but also standing alone on their own as well.
Yeah. Do you specialize in a particular area with your practice at the moment, or is it
Look,
whatever comes in?
Oh, look, I mean, I can have a broad range of clientele as to what walks, as to what they present with through the door. Yeah, I'd say where I do specialize is in anxiety and grief.
All right. Well, look, I mean, I think, kinesiology, I'm a huge fan of kinesiology and homeopathy, of course. And one of the reasons that I really like both of these modalities is because when it comes to mental and emotional states like that, anxiety, grief, other ones we could name would be, anger, for example.
Mm.
Um, there's nothing in modern medicine that touches this. Like nothing comes close. Like the pharmaceutical companies, they haven't come up with a pill, right, for grieving, or for anger, they've got a few things they like to try for anxiety, but
Mhm.
I think that kinesiology and homeopathy, you know, they're really good at this sort of thing, and modern medicine doesn't come close. So I suppose for you to be able to now have two really big guns in your arsenal, or that means you can really help people who are going through these emotional states.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I've had a girl who's worked with me for a while, and we get great results with the kinesiology. Yet the anxiety was still coming back, and I have done a session, homeopathy session with her, and the anxiety's gone. And I know, and it's just like gone. Like she's gone, and I go, great. That's so freeing for her.
Nice.
Do you know she is?
Yeah.
I mean, it just brings such a peace, and I mean that's what I really do love to see with clients, and the fact that it's lasting, that they don't have to keep taking something, as we know that the pharmaceutical
Yep.
companies do. That's what they want. Whereas, for
Yeah.
what our philosophy is that it actually gets to the
Mm.
core and gets that vital
Mm.
force flowing, so that they don't necessarily have to take it again.
Yeah, good point. And this is what Hahnemann said, and very few the very first few aphorisms he wrote in The Organon of Medicine. That homeopathy, we shouldn't use the word cure, but in his
Yeah.
time, that was the word they used, that homeopathy does affect what he called a cure. Okay.
Yes.
And you're so right, when if this is what medicine truly is, and this is how it should be in the 21st century, medicine, it's not a cure. If somebody has to keep on taking something, they haven't actually fixed the issue, have they? All they're doing is managing the symptoms, really.
Yes, and signing someone up for life.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. So I've got to say, I'll just quickly chuck this in. I did say I'm a big fan of kinesiology, but I don't think that Switch On Health would even exist if it wasn't for the help that I got with my kinesiologist. So
Oh,
kinesiology is life-changing.
yes.
Homeopathy is life-changing as well. So for anybody watching this, if you haven't seen a homeopath yet, or you haven't seen a kinesiologist yet, I strongly recommend it. Now,
Absolutely.
Lisa, I did want to ask as well. I guess obviously because you're already a practitioner in another
Mm.
modality, but you did come to us and
Mm.
we put you through that RPL process, so you didn't have to do the whole course with us. There were things that
No.
you've already done as a kinesiologist as part of your prior training. Now, even when we take that into account,
Mm.
you basically joined us, you had some RPLs, and you managed to smash out the course with us in the space of about 12 months. And some
Yes.
people listening to this are going to be a bit envious that you managed to get that bit of paper in a 12-month period. And I'm
Yes.
sure they want to know, how did you do it?
Look, I was driven by the passion. Sincerely, actually, I was driven by wanting this in the arsenal for clients. That was my primary driver. When it comes to needing something to be done, I become very dedicated, and so literally any of my spare time, I was using it to study. And for me, I mean, that was one of the reasons I joined Switch On Health. Number one, that you're based in Australia. Number two, that it had the flexible learning so that I could drive my own learning. I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend it to people because I certainly carried a lot of pressure within that, doing with that, and I really cut out my social life to do it. Yet the driver was simply just to have that done so I could actually offer it to clients. But it was a lot of dedication and a lot of, cutting out other things and prioritizing study.
Yeah, okay. So I guess what I would take from that is if you know why you're doing this and you've really got a reason, that's what you tap into, and that's your motivation, and that's what gets you through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yet I think also too, so I would say to anybody who said I'm going to do it, and I say, well, also take the joy. It's a journey. And I think we all talk about the journey rather than the destination. And yes, I was driven by the destination. Yet I think there's also a joy in taking that time to learn, which then, I have then gone to do a lot more after to reinforce that learning. And I mean, again, one of the things that I love about Switch On Health is that I can go back at any time and keep going over the knowledge and reinforcing the knowledge. So, I think also too, enjoy the journey of the study because it's, there's such a gift in doing that and taking your time and allowing it to sink in also.
Yeah, I love that, Lisa. I think that's a really good way of putting it. I think a lot of people, they're going to put pressure on themselves, and you do need a bit of pressure to actually make sure you get the stuff done. But yeah, I think you're right. You have hit on something there. Enjoying the process has its own benefits and its own rewards as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw you a bit of a curveball question. For
Yes.
anybody watching, this is not scripted. Lisa doesn't know what I'm going to ask her.
I
If this
don't.
doesn't work out, we're going to edit it out of the video. Um, but if we think back to, you've said with Switch On Health, we have that flexibility and so on. Um, the assessments, obviously, you can do them in
Mm.
your own time when you're ready. And like I do remember having a chat with you, and you had, let's say, a bit of trepidation around doing these practical assessments in an online environment.
Yes.
And, when you graduated, somebody said to me, oh, Lisa's ready, start checking her work. And I was like, wow, how did that happen? She made it.
Yes.
If you're up for it, would you like to share you know, what was going on for you with these assessments, and how did you overcome that?
I think, as an adult going back to study, it's a very interesting thing. And I think even though we all do our own work, I got really triggered by, obviously things that had happened at school only a few years ago, maybe 25, from school a long time ago, it was triggering. And so, getting those marks back, getting it wrong, getting it in red pen was like, yet I think looking at it back now, realizing that, the assessors at Switch on Health are actually there to help you. They're there to support you. It's not about being told you're wrong or you've got it wrong. It's about learning. And I think I would say to anybody is really understand that they are so personable. They really have your best interest at heart and they really want you to get through. Anybody who knows me knows I hate being videoed. And I did say to Martin just before this, I said, oh my God, I forgot I was being videoed. And even actually at my last assessment, a few hours before, I was going, I don't want to do it. I don't have to do it. I'm not going to do it. And I was actually willing to throw in that year of tough work because I simply didn't want to be videoed. And again, I think it all just comes back to your belief systems. I'd recommend some kinesiology to get through it, or homeopathy. Actually, homeopathy. Sally was great. Sally Pazzi had suggested a homeopathic for me. And I have to say, after having done that, I was just ready to shine. I just wanted the camera on me. And it really did work. And I think also, it is that shift in that belief system because, again, the assessors want you to get through this. And I think it's just for anybody who has that triggering for them is just understand that everyone at Switched On Health is on your side. They want you to get through this and they're there to support you. So I think, in retrospect, that was probably one of the greatest learnings I took away from Switched On Health.
Oh, I love this, Lisa. I don't think I could really add or improve upon what you just said. That's beautiful. Um, yeah, look, I guess all I can say is we wouldn't be doing you any favors if we did not give you the feedback, like if we just ticked and flicked, or if we said, oh yeah, that remedy's a good one to pick, you could use that without actually telling you what, we really thought, then, you wouldn't be such a good practitioner at the end of it. Um, and
Absolutely.
yeah, how much trauma does everybody have from our schooling system?
Yeah, I think a lot of us do, and I think that's again, it's really looking when you come to do your adult studies. It's a different. It really is a different environment, and
Yeah.
it is a supportive environment. And I think that's also one of the learnings I had is that, I think through some of my feedback, I have seen things change, and that's what I love. Is Switch On Health is always evolving. They're going to take that feedback and make it better. And also too, there is a community out there that you just need to reach out on, on the Facebook group, because I think anybody who's been through this just wants to support anyone else going through it. There's a wonderful saying that I love, and it's you'll never be criticized by those doing you'll never be criticized by those doing more than you. You'll only ever be criticized by those doing less. And that's really that people who have been successful just want to lift, so that others can stand on their shoulders. And I really have seen that again through the greater network of Switched On Health. They just want everybody to just get to where they've to get through what they've been and to where they are.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think you're spot on, honestly. That it's exactly, I've just come from a conference on the weekend, and there was so much collective wisdom and knowledge and experience in that room, and so much generosity in the sharing and the
Mm.
passing on of that knowledge and that experience. And yeah, absolutely, somebody like myself, I've been in the industry for, I don't know, yeah, 30 years going on.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
yeah, look, I felt there were times when I felt like I didn't know anything in that room. And yeah, so in a sense, I suppose I'm still a student, and I know that I could have asked any of those people anything. And I did ask some of them some things, and I got the most beautifully informed answers.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So I guess if somebody was thinking about studying with Switch on Health, weren't quite sure, maybe they had some reservations for whatever reason, what would you say to them?
I'd just say, talk to someone at Switched On Health. I think, one of the things, again, another thing that I love is Jen, who had supported me through the process of onboarding. I was never pushed. She was always so beautifully patient with me. And I'd say to people, just ask the questions. Ask the questions that you need to be sure that Switched On Health is right for them. I think, studying on your own is an interesting process. But again, there's people out there to support you. Just need to reach out. And look, I certainly, I don't think it's the end of my journey with Switched On Health. I think I just say do it. Just do it, and talk to somebody to help, understand those fears or reservations that you have, because there's usually solutions around them.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Lisa. Last question. Uh, what's next for you?
Oh, there is, you know what, at the moment, I am just trying to enjoy the study of homeopathy and then integrating that into the practice.
Yeah.
However, I am not sure. There is going to be more study just because I just love it. I love having my brain
Yeah.
being utilized and,
Yeah.
gathering more information. So at the moment, I am enjoying this diploma. I'm integrating it, and yes, I'm not quite sure. I'm just tossing up with possibly
Yeah.
nutrition at Switched On Health or maybe something else.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Well,
we'll see.
you've
Watch
had
this
a
space.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, excellent. You've had a pretty big 12 months with us. You've really packed it in. So I think you're
Mm,
allowed to take a little bit of time to have a bit of a breather, and then
absolutely.
start integrating it into your existing practice. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, excellent. Well, Lisa, look, we're so happy that you chose Switch on Health for your
Thank you.
studies. And, I think when you said this isn't the end of your journey with us, I think you're right. We are going to see more of each other in whatever capacity that might be in the future. We really, nothing makes us happier and more proud to see
Mm,
someone like you take whatever you've learned through Switch on Health and to then go out there and change people's lives. Like it's so rewarding for us when we see that. So
yeah.
thank you for doing what you do as a practitioner and in helping other people out there. And
Well, I can say the
yeah,
same to you. Thank you. Thank you for helping me to actually get that learning to be able to go and now do that. So I'm also very grateful for what you do. So thank you.
awesome. Well, do keep in touch, Lisa, and we really look forward to seeing you flourish in this next
Mm,
phase of your practice.
thank you. Thank you.